free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. This is UCY.tv. What's up, folks? It's actually the website UCY.tv where you can find a chat link. A couple of people have already joined. What's up, everybody? Cap and Cracker, Ben, Frog, JJ, Jules is even there, Logan, Ufde, and Vince. Some of you have been here a while. Captain has been here for an hour. Frog also almost an hour. Jules just 16 minutes. And Ufde is also 3/4 of an hour already chatting out with the rest of the people. I think it's a very special chat, to be honest with you. It's for me, I have 3 chats open, actually. I got one from Real Liberty Media. Yeah, people can go there. And my computer is hanging a lot. I don't know what it is, but it's very, very slow. reallibertymedia.com. It's with 2 L's. reallibertymedia.com. Sign in the chat. There I have signed in the chat. There I am. Whatever. And also I am at tragedyandhope.ning.com. There's a chat there also. And I'm not gonna name everybody from those chats, but you know, sometimes people paste stuff there that's interesting, like this latest one from Richard, the owner of the site, together with Liza, is School Sucks special, because it's after the actual episode, I'm thinking, because I only heard like the first couple of minutes. On 9/11/2013, together with Richard Grove and Daryl Becker, who I talked to on Vince's show. What's your show actually called, Vince? I don't even know that. Oh yeah, something like No Time for Rational Thinking, something like that. Yeah. I find that a rather strange title, by the way, but there you go. Okay, so this chat and the others as well. These are like ties to reality, right? Especially if you compare them to other chats. like where quote-unquote normal people go. I don't know if they even do. I don't know if they're too busy watching on their phones. That's what I see here in the Netherlands anyway, a lot of times. People in cars, people on bikes, people are walking the streets. They all got their eyes fixated on the phone. So I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're yapping away at their boyfriend or whatever. I hope you all got something to drink. I got my usual coffee and, of course, cigarette. Yeah, this is no time for rational thinking, Vince. At World Truth Radio, right? Yeah, I had a talk with Daryl Becker there. And if all goes well, we should have him on at some point. He is able to talk about a lot of things, among which is medical things, because he does acupuncture. And this is a science. I would say it's a science. Right? Don't take my word for it, but do your own research. But I think that this is a science, and it's much, much older than Western medicine, right? Not saying that older, therefore better, because sometimes Western medicine does have the upper hand. But these are other ways. I don't know if it's holistic, and there may be a problem with that. Because this holistic thing could be a culture creation setup. Right? Everything is one is kind of the idea, but that's also what ancient Indian medicine and Chinese medicine are about. They say, well, there needs to be a balance. And remember what I said last time, right? That there's no such thing as balance in nature. There's no such thing as striving for balance in nature. Just look at all the catastrophic events that the Earth has gone through. We'll make that clear, So, but they do use this, guess you could call it a metaphor or whatever, or an analogy, that your body, if it's out of balance in some way, like one part being hot and another part not, for instance, then there is an imbalance, as they call it. And they've found energy lines that seem to connect throughout the body. And by manipulating one, you can manipulate the other. And so that seems to be correct in my opinion, also because I found some of these points myself in the past. You press on your arm and you feel it in your leg. That's kind of strange, right? But these are the lines that go through your body, which are connected. In ancient India, they have this idea that your body is made of earth, water, fire, air, or earth, water, air, fire. I'm not quite sure about the order in this case, which is important. I think fire is the fourth and air is the third. This has to do with density, right? Earth is the most dense, then water, then air and fire, and even more dense is ether. And so these 5 elements make up your physical body. according to their medical studies. And they claim that if there's too much fire in your body, then you need to balance that out with the other three. That's one way they do medicine. I saw a video about it one time, and actually the only thing I remember about that was that this took place in a Vedic hospital. Vedic, coming from Veda. And there were 5 people there that were all being treated, and this doctor came in with one drink, and he poured this one drink into 5 glasses and gave everybody a glass. And this was just a demonstration. This is not medicine or anything. It's just a demonstration. And all these 5 persons would taste this drink, and for the one it was sweet, for the other it was sour, for the next it was bitter, and so everybody had a different taste from the same drink. And the doctor goes on to explain that this is due to imbalance. Right? You hear that a lot lately being used. Imbalanced chemicals in your brain or whatever, you know? Frog, the fire is your stomach, where your food gets burned. Right? Frog says fire is synapses and nervous system. No, I would think that would be ether, but I don't go there, you know. I haven't studied this, but I know from the myth that fire is your stomach, where your food gets burned. Right, so earth could be bones or something. Water would be blood, I guess. You know, I'm just guessing here, right? So, but I know that they pointed fire to your stomach, where your acids are, and these actually do burn the food. Yeah. So, hold on, guys. So that's all interesting stuff, in my opinion. I think it's I like to investigate what these ancient people already knew. Some of it is very interesting. So, right, one possible correction I want to make in regards to things I've said in the past about the word politics. It seems to be that this word may have another root, namely, not what I said, politics is poly and ethics. Right? This may not be a correct breakdown of the word, because in the past, in Greece, it was a city that was a state, right? There were city-states back then. And the word for city is polis. So politics comes from polis, how to rule a city. That's the I guess even more logical explanation of the word. Right, so politics is from polis, the city-state. And the fact that it is a 4th branch of philosophy should tell you and me that philosophers are traitors. Just as simple as that. They are traitors to humanity for even bringing up politics as a philosophical branch. This has to do with how do you rule people. That's what it's about. So why would a philosopher who should be interested in truth even how do I put this in English? Even connect himself with the idea of politics? I mean, even as Plato says himself, that it should be the philosophers who rule, because, in his opinion, philosophers don't care about anything material. They're more interested in the immaterial things. He says, he claims even that that's the reason why philosophers, that's one of the reasons, why philosophers should be kings. Another reason why he says so is because, in his opinion, that's Plato's, only philosophers can have an idea of what virtue is. And so only they would be able to rule a city, in his eyes. In case you're wondering why I have to light my cigarette every time, it's because these are Rizla blue rolling papers. I don't know if they exist in America, but here we have Rizla Croix. It seems to be French because of the croix at the end. It's just a cross on the paper itself, but we pronounce croix instead of kruis or cross. And so these are Rizla papers, blue, and there's also red, and they keep burning, but these blue are made of rice paper, and they go out. So that's why I have to relight my ciggy every time. I think it's okay, these blues, because that was my phone. When I'm behind my computer and I'm typing or playing a game, and I put away my cigarette, I want it to be still there after 15 minutes or so, and that it hasn't, burned up into nothingness. It's a waste of money, in my opinion. So. Alright, so let's see. That was my correction about the word politics. Anything else come to mind? That I found out that I was wrong about the last couple of weeks or months? Nothing comes to mind. I've been digging a little bit more into what people actually understand about metaphysics or ontology, what's the nature of reality, and epistemology. With this History of Philosophy.net podcast series, you can start at one. I did start at one. I believe you have like 250 or 260 episodes there already. They're not that long. They're about 20 minutes each. And the one presenting it seems to me to be rather young, but that doesn't mean that he's a worse philosopher than older people. I think so far he has been presenting it very good. All right, I think he presented it even better than my God, what's his name? I've mentioned him before on air. He was mentioned by Gino Denning as a teacher of logic, but he's an hardcore Ayn Randian, and so everything he says is tainted by objectivism, right? So, but this dude, he doesn't seem to take a stance in that way. He does make arguments for and against, so He does talk about the sophists and what role they played. So, I haven't been able to trap him in any errors or that he leaves things out. But then again, I'm not the one to be able... I'm not the one to have the expertise to do that, right? Okay, Captain, what was that? Luckenbach's Women Lib? Should I read that on air, Captain? Because I'm not exactly sure what it is, but... You say that man was a philosopher of the first order? Who are you talking about, Cap? Might get into that. Is that Peter Cederstacker? Known as a writer, apparently. Alright, so in this podcast series he goes into also epistemology, and he does bring out the points which the pre-Socratics, among others, made, and that's where you start in at 1. The pre-Socratics, and what kind of arguments they made before you can be sure that you know something. And some of them are not so strong, others are actually stronger. One thing that I did find lacking is a clear definition, sometimes. Right? If you start out with a clear definition about what it is to know, then it would be easier to answer some epistemological questions. And so that's where in Indian philosophy they have a definition of what knowledge is, which leads to dogmatic thinking. And it's because they even change the word knowledge into knowledge, but then with a capital K. And they go and explain that all the knowledge with a small k that we have about this material world is actually illusionary and therefore cannot be called knowledge. Therefore they spell it with a small k. And they say that knowledge with a capital K is about absolute things. Alright, so these, the things that you can have knowledge about have certain attributes that are absolute. Yes, Dan, those are the ones, but those seem to be big ones. I got the small ones. So this capital K knowledge has to do with what you can know about has to be of an absolute nature, which means that, for instance, it's always been there. Right? It has an infinite nature. That's one of the things that goes under the umbrella of absolute. All right. So for me, there is no evidence yet that suggests that this universe doesn't exist based on that premise, that everything that we know about this material world is illusionary in their eyes. right? Because we still haven't found the edge of the universe yet. So to claim that the universe is infinite is one stance one could take. It's a hard standpoint one takes because you can't prove it. Right, so you have to be careful there. But at least you have to keep it open as an option. Because it hasn't been proved that the universe is finite. So if it is, then it has an absolute property, and therefore you can know about it, in their philosophy anyway. So, to me, knowledge is unbreakably tied to reality. Those two are unbreakably linked. Right? If you, the whole idea of language also comes into studying epistemology, and it's because some people have the idea that words are just descriptions, and if you look up the word descriptions, you find that this is an explanation of what things are like, not what they exactly are. Right? So, in their view, words are just pointers, so to speak. Right? But if these pointers do not point to something that is real, then it is not known as knowledge. And also, I tried finding that page, but I couldn't find it. Maybe if I get it back this week somewhere, I'll try and explain more about it. But I found this page where they divided inferences. You guys know what an inference is, right? All men are mortal. This is premise 1. It's the major premise. Minor premise, Socrates is immortal. Socrates is a man, I mean. That's the second premise. And then 3, you infer, it's inference, that Socrates is mortal. That's the conclusion. So inference. And there seem to be many kinds of them. One of them is, for instance, causal. There's causal inference. And there was a list of 4, 5, or maybe even 6. I don't remember exactly. But so all these different kinds of inferences, and I haven't even been able to get them in my head, you know. So that also it points to the fact that we weren't taught how to communicate, even. Right? There's also, you know, besides the different forms of inference that are out there, there's also the different forms, again the word forms, of arguments. Right? So in the argument I gave is all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. For men, Socrates, and mortal, you can put in letters, and then you get a form. And if somebody brings up an argument and it has this form, then it is at least okay in the sense that it has the correct form. This doesn't mean that the conclusion is true. You still have to look if there is an actual inference there. But at least the form is correct. There is also incorrect forms. There are many incorrect. There are more incorrect forms of making an argument than there are correct ones. And we haven't been taught that either, right? So those two things together make me think that we haven't been taught how to communicate even. How to talk to one another. And this, of course, makes us vulnerable. Especially when sophists are speaking to us. Alright, let's see. And there's one thing I got here that would tie. Just a little bit information. We might pick up more of it, but I'm gonna move to a page here so I can't follow the chat at the moment. Now I need to find it. Here it is, I think. It says, we were talking about inferences, right? And I think this has to do with it also. This is different kinds of fallacies. There's a couple of them. There are fallacies of distraction. Then there is, and I don't even immediately get this, there's appeals to motives in place of support. Right? Appeal to force falls under that, appeal to pity, appeal to consequences, appeal to popularity. These fall apparently under appeals to motives in place of support. Then there's changing the subject. An ad hominem, for instance. Red herring seems to me to belong there. But I think red herring is listed somewhere else. Then there's inductive fallacies. Right, that's another thing. Have we even begun to master deductive and inductive? Those are difficult things. So inductive fallacies, among which hasty generalization, false analogy, fallacy of exclusion. What the heck is that? Fallacy of exclusion, evidence which would change the outcome of an inductive argument is excluded from consideration. Okay. Well, that happens a lot, right? Things you aren't being told, which would drive you into a completely different conclusion than if you had known that fact. Right, next group consists fallacies involving statistical syllogism. My God. What the heck is a statistical syllogism? And then the one I already named, causal fallacies, like post hoc, for instance. Missing the point is a group of fallacies. Fallacies of ambiguity. Ambiguous. Equivocation falls under that. Category errors. Non sequitur. We had a good one about that, Vince, didn't we? About non sequitur. Usually you can translate that as does not follow. Then there are syllogistic errors, fallacies of explanation, and fallacies of definition. So, you know, did you ever see it printed out under these headings? It helps to know, you know, it helps if you know 42 fallacies and you know in which category to put them. It will help you spot even more fallacies because you recognize the category, you see. Alright, back to chat. Back to chat! Soren Kierkegaard. What kind of Nederlander is he? If he can't even discuss Soren Kierkegaard, well, why wouldn't I be able to discuss him, Dan? What makes you think that? So if anybody wants to call in and talk about anything he likes, or she, that's just great. You can do so by contacting me at Skype, Solvinur, Solvinur. Do I need to read anything of that on air, Cap, or what? And so Skype, Solvinur, Solvinur, and I will get you on air. Well, that's not an argument then, because I haven't done so yet. There's millions of topics that I haven't talked about, so... there's more that I haven't talked about than that I have talked about, so... You could name everything that I haven't talked about then. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true, Vince. When one finds to understand proper thinking, any fallacy is seen even without naming it. Yes. But it helps very much to be able to name it, because then it changes from a feeling to something explicit. And that helps. But yes, if you just take the first two steps of the trivium, then you should be able to spot any inconsistency or fallacy or contradiction. And there seems to be something else. I don't think I mentioned this yet about the trivium that kind of bothers me. Is I got it here in the brain, I think. Let me check, guys, if I can get that brain link up. I think this one is it. Yes, I think so. Copy this. Back to the chat. Open a new window. With this sluggish computer. Come on. There you go. Open it. Open, and then copy, paste that there. Paste. Go. Now put one in the chat also, so you guys can follow if you like. This is an awesome tool. You should all bookmark this and use it. Alright, so at the page I just linked in the chat room, you can see the classical trivium and 7 liberal arts. Now, first of all, Kevin Cole, with a C, Cole, Kevin Cole, YouTube him and get educated, told us that the 7 from the 7 liberal arts, it could have been 9 or 10 or 11. There used to be more, he says. And if you look at all the blue lines that go from the classical trivium and 7 liberal arts in this link that I just gave you in the chat room, you can see that it has a link somehow, and I would need to ask Richard when and if he does come on air with me, how exactly I'm supposed to get this link exactly, right? What exactly does Scott Buchanan, Rhodes Scholar, have to do with classical trivium and 7 liberal arts? Well, guess what? Kevin Cole says that it was Scott Buchanan, who is a Rhodes Scholar, that introduced this to us. Now, if there's not something suspicious about that, you need to wash your brain, right? I find this very suspicious. And so, apparently, if what Kevin Cole says is true, and we have not been given the full knowledge, in other words, they've committed the fallacy, they're lying, that's what fallacy also is, falare, to deceive. They've committed this fallacy of leaving out critical information, because they only give us 7 arts. So there's another thing that Scott Buchanan played a major role in, and I'm not sure. Let's see if I can figure this out if I click on him. So if you click on any of those, they go to the middle, you see, and then you can see what that links to and so on. And I'm not gonna explain this again. You'll need to figure out what above and left and right, all of that, what that is. See, Scott Buchanan is tied to the Foundation for World Government in 1948. See, so how can we trust this information that we get from this Scott Buchanan when he's also connected in some way with the Foundation for a World Government? Here, I'll read this. This is from Kevin Cole Findings. McCohen insisted that I had stumbled into a rediscovery of the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, rhetoric and logic, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music and astronomy. He further insisted that we 3 ought to proceed with a revision of the traditional forms and the reconstruction of them for the sake of the order and articulation they could bring to the contemporary college and university. We also speculated on the possibility of making a modern trivium and quadrivium the basis of a curriculum for a people's university. Scott Buchanan apparently said this. And more, the first year Adler, would that be Mortimer Adler, guys? McKeown and I gave a series of lectures at Cooper Union on the traditional structure of a university, using the forms of the traditional European university and filling them with the content of modern learning. For the sake of clarity, we kept the old terminology, poetry divided into grammar, rhetoric and logic, mathematics divided into arithmetic, geometry, music and astronomy. Huh. Okay. Well, yes, Captain. Pondering and philosophy are only part of it. Not actually sure what you mean with it, but at some point action is in order, which is of course correct. The third branch of philosophy is about action. You get the first 2. So what do we know about reality? How do we know what we know about reality? And then the third branch, ethics, actually is about action. There is a link, by the way, between these and the trivium. The grammar part of the trivium relates to metaphysics, and the logic part relates to epistemology, as the wisdom part, the action part, goes to ethics. Ethics is about how people should act, right? Okay, so what was this about this Kierkegaard, or what? No, not Kierkegaard. Oh. Frog says I should ignore you, Dan, so... Yeah, I don't mind talking about. Logan Hawk, what's that? I'll click it and see what that is. Renewable energy. Okay, I'm sorry, guy. I'm not sure how this is related. Convivium Renewable Energy. CONVIVIUM. Alright. It's a website.com. Not sure exactly what to do with that, Logan. Did you get that Logan from Logan's Run, by the way? I think so. So, how are things in the United States when it comes to cultural problems? I should play this, by the way. I'm not gonna play it, but I should. I'll just paste it in the chat so everybody can take a look at it who hasn't yet. I think it was very, very interesting. Although I don't agree with everything he says there because he's very religious. But still, Muhammad Ali, YouTube. There you go, people in the chat. Let's see. It's called Muhammad Ali, Racial Integration. And he makes some very good points there. This was even played by the BBC. Right, so that's good. Sometimes the BBC actually does let things happen. Yeah. He makes a couple of good points about why people stay with their own, I guess, is a word to put. Here in the Netherlands, I asked you about what's it like with the cultural differences in the USA, right? People are already responding in the chat. Peachy in the south and on the verge of civil war. So yeah, that shows the kind of contradiction. And don't forget, people in the United States, if you're talking to a European, we tend to think that the United States is one country. Yeah. We look at states like provinces, right? When I know there is a lot of differences when you travel through the United States. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to have been there myself along the West Coast. That here in the Netherlands, tensions are rising, I would say. But I'm just basing that on what I hear at my work, right? Don't forget, I do not watch any media here in the Netherlands. I don't follow any news. It's just garbage anyway, so. But then, I get that anyway because the people at work, they reflect and restate and give their own quote-unquote opinion. I don't know if it is their own opinion, because I think opinions are manufactured. Manufactured? I don't know if that's the correct word, but... And so I know what must have been going on the television, right? And people are complaining a lot about too many outsiders, as they are called. And they are complaining about the Dutch culture being destroyed. And sometimes I can't shut up and I say, well, that's the whole reason why these people are here. And they look at me like, what? What do you mean? Who's trying to destroy our culture? Yeah. If you guys find, by the way, a link to a free episode of Star Wars 7, let me know, because I want to watch that. And I tried finding one, but I haven't found it. I'm an enormous fan of science fiction. This may have polluted my thinking. Yeah. These science fiction movies are used to implant thoughts into people's minds. I thought that Battlestar Galactica, the 2004, I think it is, that it started. I'm not quite sure about the year, but there's a whole television series, lots of them. They are an excellent example of preconditioning. And not only that, it's an excellent story as well. It's very well produced. It's no second rank series. All right. What are we gonna do, guys? We got about 1 hour and 8 minutes left. Hold on. Something in my eye. There we go. You can call in. What was that ploop? You can call in, not via the telephone, but via oh, Grimmer. Yeah, okay, I saw those links, but I'm kind of suspicious those are links that give you another link, and that one doesn't seem to work. So, did you verify that? Because I try to find more movies, and sometimes, they actually, all the times up to now that I've tried to get one via YouTube, especially the latest ones. Last time that I tried that was with Lord of the Rings, their latest movie, and they also had all kinds of YouTube links, but none of them actually had the show. But nice that you're listening, Grim. Yeah, I hadn't expected that. I'll check it out later, okay, Grim? I'll check it out later. I'll check it out later, Grim. Thanks a lot, Grim. I learned how to do that, right? GR tap. Yes, it works. See, if you use tap in that chat, it helps your typing. Yes. See? works. Oh my god. Rick rolling me. Yeah. No, but there are YouTubes that claim to have it, you know. So I already did check that, but I'm very suspicious of those. So I don't waste my time checking out, even if they have a valid link. Alright, so who the hell is Scott Buchanan? Is that all we have on him? Should be more. This is just two paragraphs. Let's see what happens if we click on this. So who is this Scott Buchanan that introduced this trivium to us? No, I'm not. Grim. Yeah. I'm not. I don't speak English as well as you guys do, you know. I try to use as less figurative speech out as possible. Somebody sends me a contact. Add to contact. Send. Alright. Send. Skype. Request. Send. Alright. That's Vince is connecting people. That's what he's about. Alright, Vince, you're about connecting people. That's very good. So, Scott Buchanan, born 1895 and died in 68, was an American philosopher. Really? Educator and foundation consultant. He is best known as the founder of the Great Books program. Ah, yes. Kevin Cole also mentioned those, and he said that, you know, it's okay to read them, but, you know, just beware that this is, again, about what I said about the philosophers. This is about how to control us. So don't get caught in their arguments, because you will switch to their side. That's why I put Plato's Republic away at some point. Because I felt like he was trying to pull me to this point of elitism and view reality from that point. Right? So unfortunately, I will have to get back to start reading Plato's Republic again, and maybe some of his other books, and I might even do that on air, because I think it is important. Apparently Plato is also very, very anti-sophist. Alright, so that's a reason to like him. Which I don't. This is the wrong lighter. I need to refill that one. Buchanan's various projects and writings may be understood as an ambitious program of social and cultural reform. That's exactly what I told you, right? Based on the insight that many crucial problems arise from the uncritical use of symbolism. In this sense, his program was similar to and competed with a number of contemporary movements such as Alfred Korzybski's General Semantics, Otto Neurath's Unity of Science Project, the Semiotics of Charles Morris, and the Orthological Projects of Charles K. Ogden. Buchanan collaborated with the latter effort for a number of years. Right, so I don't know any of these guys, never heard of them. Shows you how much we know, right? Buchanan's own program, however, differed from these general empiricist, positivist, and pragmatist movements by stressing what he saw as the need for reforms in the mathematical symbolisms employed in modern science. Buchanan's first book, published in 1927, stated that science is the greatest body of uncriticized dogma we have today. Yeah, that's a funny one. Right? These dogmas have been attacked successfully, in my opinion, by that biologist. What's his name again? Who did the research on dogs knowing when their owners would come home. Okay, let's see. It's just a chat. Let's keep up a little bit with the chat. Has anybody joined? Did anybody join that I haven't mentioned? Anon37, welcome. And Cracker, were you there already? Welcome, buddy. Dan, Hopper, Frog, Captain, Gringo, Joe, Jules, Logan Hawk, Road Dog, Ufde. Ufde has joined. Welcome, buddy. Alright, Scott Buchanan, what else can we get? Because he was also tied to this world government thing, right? Let's see if you can find anything. Undersea also with Scott Buchanan, liberal arts, Center for Study of Democratic Institutions, Robert Maynard Hutchins, Mortimer Adler. That's another one that was presented to us in a positive way, remember? Alexander Melkejon or something like that. Liberal arts, trivium, quadrivium, adult education, world government. See? I thought they deleted that post on Wikipedia. Or was that only New World Order that they deleted? It has a disclaimer. This article, introduction section, may not adequately summarize its contents to comply with Wikipedia's lead section guidelines. Please consider modifying the lead to provide an accessible overview of the article's key points in such a way that it can stand on its own in a concise version of the article. That was October 2014. World government is the notion of a common political authority for all of humanity. Yuck. Right, so that's one thing he's connected with somehow. Let's see what his life says. He was born in Sprague, Washington, and was raised in Jeffersonville, Vermont. He received his undergraduate degree from Amherst College in 1916, majoring in Greek and mathematics. After serving in the Navy during the final years of World War I, he studied philosophy at Balliol College, Oxford, as a Rhodes Scholar between 1919 and 1921. His continued studies in philosophy at Harvard University, right, and received his doctorate in 1925. So what exactly is a Rhodes Scholar anyway, according to Wikipedia? Rhodes Scholarship, named for Cecil John Rhodes, most of us already knew that, right, is an international postgraduate award for selected non-British students to study at the University of Oxford. Describing itself as perhaps the most prestigious scholarship in the world. The award is widely considered to be one of the world's most prestigious scholarships by public sources such as Time, the McGill Reporter, and Associated Press. Look at this nice picture. I'll put that link in the chat so you guys can see for yourself. What do you see in the picture? I know what I see. Associated Press, established in 1902, it was the first large-scale program of international scholarships, inspiring creation of other awards like the Harkness Fellowship and Kennedy Scholarship for British nationals, the Marshall Scholarship for Americans, and more recently the International Schwarzman Scholarship for study at Tsinghua University in the United States. The scholarship is among the most selective available for American undergraduates. With 3.7% of 869 university-endorsed applicants receiving it in 2014, and its most selective scholarship available in, yes, Vince, in, where was I? And it is the most selective scholarships available to Canadians, with an average of 4.7 of university-endorsed applicants receiving it between 1997 and 2002. So yeah, there's a chemtrail there, in the picture of the Rhodes House in Oxford. Typical, right? Cecil Rhodes' goals in creating the Rhodes Scholarship were to promote civic-minded leadership amongst young people with, in the words of his 1899 will, moral force of character and instincts to lead. Yeah. Right. There's the last will of Cecil Rhodes. I think I even have that document as a PDF or something. It's even in his own handwriting. Could go into that if you like. And as he wrote in 1901, codicil to his will to help render war impossible through promoting understandings between the great powers, evaluating career trajectory. All right, so there's a problem here. It says to help render war impossible through promoting understanding between the great powers. Now there's two things I could point to that would make this statement seem implausible. One of them is The Spy Catcher. It's a book by a guy whose name I forget. You guys know how bad I am with names. But The Spy Catcher should be enough. This is where a former head of MI6 explains how he thinks that the head of the KGB then and the head of MI6 were both being steered from above. Another point I could bring up is the fact that this was like 6 weeks ago or something, we talked about this, that since 1917, I think it was, out of my head, or even before that, because 1917 was the year of the two revolutions in Russia, right? So the Western powers, among which Shell, for instance, has been greatly responsible for the rise of the Soviet Union, the USSR as it was known in Europe. So since 1917 or even before that, right, and this goes on through the Cold War, where the United States is shipping food by the tons to Russia. That's all available from the .gov site if you want to check that out. And just find out how many grain was, for instance, was exported to Russia during the Cold War. There's .gov sites on that. So, you know, they were never enemies. You don't feed your enemy, right? So this claim of his to make war impossible, yeah, right? I think there's no such thing. It's a war on us, not a war between some of us. Right, so where were we? Where were we, guys? Evaluating career trajectory. Shaler and Schaefer conclude that the great majority of Rhodes Scholars have had solid, respectable careers, and that while few of them have changed the world, most of them have been a credit to their profession and communities. Nonetheless, several scholars have become heads of government or heads of state, including Wasim Sajjad from Pakistan, Bill Clinton, United States, Dom Mintoff, Malta, John Turner, Canada, and 3 Australian Prime Ministers, Bob Hogg, Tony Abbott, or Abbott, and Malcolm Turnbull. Rhodes Scholars may study any full-time postgraduate course offered by the university, whether a taught master program, a research degree, or a second undergraduate degree. In the first instance, the scholarship is awarded for 2 years. However, it may also be held for 1 year or 3 years. Applications for a third year are considered during the course of the second year. University and college fees are paid by the Rhodes Trust. In addition, scholars receive a monthly maintenance, stipend, to cover accommodation and living expenses. Although all scholars become affiliated with a residential college while at Oxford, they also enjoy access to Rhodes House, an early 20th century mansion with numerous public rooms, gardens, a library, study areas, and other facilities. Blah, blah, blah. Good morning, Jane. How are you doing? I'm just checking the chat, guys. All right. It seems to be about internet and Germany and bonfire road. All right, so that's about enough of the chat. Let's see, Rhodes. Richard Grove. Brain Roads is tied to Foundation for World Government. Dorothy Sayers comes up because of the 7 Liberal Arts link, I guess. On the left you can see a bar. I'll put this link in the chat again for people that have not gotten it yet. Okay. Skype. Scroll to here, right click there, invite. Let's see if this works.
Hello, Walter. Good morning.
Good morning, Vince. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I got the rain coming down. I got out yesterday and set in a good amount of wood and got it to dry. So got about 3 days of rain coming and cold weather to follow next week. But I think I'm ready.
Uh-huh. Is it cold over where you are?
No, it's not. It's unseasonably warm.
Yeah.
It was up near 70, and it's probably 60 something today, I reckon.
Yeah, it's been very warm here in the Netherlands as well. Like 14 degrees Celsius, 15 degrees Celsius, and that for 21st of December, it seems a bit hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were speaking, you seemed to be you kind of paused for a moment when I called you a sheeple.
You did? I did? You did?
Well, in so many words, I said we're all sheeple in one way or another, right?
Because we are products of the cultural creation masters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we all are affected and certainly a part of it in one way or another. We're definitely all on a plantation divided by fences and gates.
Uh-huh.
Would you agree?
Well, no, I would disagree.
Well, I knew you would, because when I said we're all sheeple, I did hear the pause in your voice, and then we went off in another direction.
Yeah, that was in your show, was that right?
Yeah, I think this was after we were talking after Daryl Becker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we all stuck around and we conversated there for a little while together. I like Daryl, and for me, and well, like for you, I was like, when I told you, I said, hey, Daryl asked if you was going to be on with us, and you were like, really?
Yeah.
He knows who I am. I mean,
yeah.
for me, see, I put these people, certain people, like in this category. It's like all my information I put in categories. So in my allegory of being upon the waters, and out in the world, and as an independent. Myself independently into the search. So I make these connections and people that I consider to be, and of course there are a great many others that I don't know about, but people that I consider to be valuable assets because of their high knowledge, whether it be in one particular area or that are rounded out in many areas. But he's one of those people that I have up there on my list. I like to call them heroes. For instance, like you, like JJ, like Jules, like Grimner, like Grammy. It's like so many other people, like Chuck and Drew here on Double Crossed, Shawley. I mean, Brandon Turbeville. I've got a very long list, and a lot of them, of course, originate here from UCY. This is a very good source for getting information. Jules was talking yesterday, and it was a replay from the following week. With all this information out here, it's very important that we be able to go through it and not be censored. And we have to use this logical process of sorting through it. And when we come across something that would cause a certain idea to be invalid, to invalidate something, no matter how much much information that you can bring over and say, well, look, see, this proves what I'm saying. Look, see, but once you can invalidate something, it doesn't matter how much rhetoric that you can bring on board for it. It's still been invalidated.
Mm-hmm.
And Well, we might get knocked out. I got a little lightning and thunder going on here.
Yeah, I can hear. It's almost drowning your voice.
Is it really? Is it that loud?
Yeah.
Wow. Good morning, Miss Jane.
Yeah, so, but I would disagree that we're all sheeple. I mean, I think that's what distinguishes being human from being a zombie. Right?
Well, you almost proved my point by saying we're all human. Because human is like, we're little monsters. We're animals. And that puts us in a pen
well,
and these words, see, the language words are always used against us, and everything we assume to mean one thing, I find really means quite the opposite.
yeah, well, is there anything wrong with seeing us as rational animals? What category would you put humans under, or men?
Man,
Is that a different category, or is it a category itself?
For me, it would be.
Sorry,
Yeah,
what?
I say for me it would be, but perhaps I'm wrong. But
I don't know. What's the definition of animal?
Yeah, I mean you're right, but I would quite literally, but where I would diverge from that is that man is as being set apart, and I know that I've not come to this. I'm bypassing the grammar and the logic here for this, but that's why I go at with my conclusion, and that's a much larger picture of all that I've looked at. So
yeah, but look, Vince, it seems contradictory in itself to call yourself a sheep, because you'd have to know what a sheep is, and if you know what a sheep is, then you wouldn't consider yourself one. You see how it contradicts itself?
Well, it's like calling myself a man as opposed to a human, even though I am still herded and sheared. We all are. We're all herded about. We have other sheep that build and maintain our parameter, our fences, our confines.
Yes.
And others that herd us into line, and we're all got our own perspective and don't realize it. It's the smell of from our nose so close to the posterity of that one in front of us, and we assume to see the world about us, and we really don't. And no matter how enlightened we might consider ourselves to be, me and you included, I contend.
Well, I don't think that being a non-sheep means that you know everything.
Well, no, we don't even have to know anything. We don't even have to know anything. The point about what we are maintained within these confines, and no matter how smart a sheep we are, no matter how many holes we can slip through the fence, we're still just a sheep over on the other side of those confines.
Huh. All right. So there's another reason why I would object to this. And this is because of identification, right? So I don't identify myself with my body. And some people do, and I think that's a problem, because I don't think you are your body. When we say animal or sheep, right, we're definitely talking about material things, right? But I would suggest that we are not material, like Yoda says in Star Wars, right? We are luminous beings, as he claims, right? So that's another argument I could bring up, and I could try to defend that, bringing up terms like soul and living being, things like that.
I think Logan Terry there, I'm not Agog, sorry, saying that we're not free. Yeah, that's Logan Hawk right there. He's a man of many names.
He's saying we're not free.
He's saying
maybe
that maybe
that's,
that's what
yeah.
I was saying. Yeah.
Uh,
I guess we're only as free. See, I can agree with what you're saying too, because true existence is within the confines of the mind, right? But and
well,
unfortunately,
no.
we have to deal with it. Wait, let me finish though. What
Yeah.
we have to exist inside this corporal being that we have. But,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So
But I wouldn't say that you are your mind either. I'd say you have a mind.
doesn't our what we think and believe make us who we are?
No.
It certainly influences who we are. Wouldn't you say?
I would say that it's impossible to influence what you are, because you are what you are, regardless of how you think about it.
Well, that's wise philosophy according to the ancient philosophy of Popeyeism.
Oh?
Yes, I am what I am.
Oh, that's Jewish, by the way.
I think I remember somebody saying it, but probably was you. Yeah, but yeah,
I think that's something that comes from Jewish philosophy. It's not what I am, but I am that I am.
yeah. That's what when Pharaoh asked, "Who is this God?" wanting his name. So I think it's very important for all gods to have names. I've chosen the name Saul. I was going to add an E on it, but I'm just going to have it Saul and then space E. So I'm Saul E.
Space E? What about dash
Yeah.
E?
No, because E's my last name is Easley. So I'm the god of fire, the fire god. Yeah.
Okay,
So I think it's very important that everybody have a choice on gods, and so I just thought I would broaden the field a little bit.
uh-huh.
I might be overrunning with this, but it really is this kind of a joke, a poke at people, because no matter whether it be from the metaphysical to that which we perceive in this world, when most people they don't even need the fixes erected for them, because they'll erect their own boundaries in their definitions of what is, and everybody else is not within them that grouping there, that definition, then they're on the outside. So we're all busy building our own fences and fencing ourselves in.
Huh. I'm not sure I understood what you meant there. What do you mean with fences?
Well, fences aren't always just physical barriers. By a definition or an idea, by a claim to be, in a sense, being a god by saying what I know is right and you're wrong because I'm right, then that's almost a claim to being all-knowing and almost claiming to be godlike in a way.
Yeah.
It's just a little fun. I guess I have an odd mind that my sense of humor and stuff for myself, I just crack me up. I don't know. Some people don't get it. Other people do. But it doesn't matter to me because I have fun with myself.
Yeah, I think people put up fences, but they don't necessarily need to be material, right? Or physical. There's also psychological fences people put up, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And I think some of them are useful. Like Daryl Becker explains that boundaries are useful for preventing conflicts.
Very true, huh?
Yeah, seems to me a reasonable statement.
Yeah, it would lend towards what I call natural law, and that's the right to life and your liberty. All these words again being used against us, but Circle over at World Tree put it in really, really good words when she said that what is wrong, what is sin. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, theft. Any theft, whether it be theft of life or theft of property, even the invasion of this erected boundary that is rightfully there, and you might call it that 3-foot space or whatever, or to come up with an insult to somebody, or any number of things. When even to assault a person emotional. Say a man and woman are married or whatever, and the husband's always like whatever, emotionally abusing his wife. Even that's wrong. Even though there's no physical touching right there or whatever for a violation with force. But intellectual, I think it'd be like, what would you call it? Maybe an intellectual violation with the use of force intellectually or something against somebody.
Well, I would say that what we've mentioned before is the leaving out of certain facts is stealing, right?
That too, yes, that
so,
too.
Yeah, it's a way to manipulate people by stealing away their ability to be able to choose the right direction, right?
Hi, Grimner. Yeah, he said that, because I heard that Popeye was a Jew. I don't know what all that means, though. But,
what's this Popeye business?
I don't know. Yeah, it was. I am what I am. So, but in all, especially you got to figure it in the old cartoons, especially. That was the infancy of the televised propaganda machine, right? In affecting social engineering. So most certainly, that which we hold the dearest and truest in our hearts, it got there from somewhere, and there's a pretty good chance it got inserted. Now, I'm going to give you an example. So every time Daryl Becker said easily, it was easily accomplished.
Yeah.
I would say you just said my name easily. So is what I've done. It's not like a virus, more like maybe a cookie or whatever. See, like with Hans, with Sutter over here at Real Liberty Media, at Hamby Cooper over at UCY. I'd like to insert a little stimulus sometimes, different individuals. So now what I did here was with Daryl Becker is that for a good long while, every time he hears the word easily, he's going to associate that with my name. So what I did was just put a little, what do you call that, a sticker or a bug? Not a bug, but like a cookie or whatever it is. Something when somebody visits your site and it travels, whatever that's called. So now everybody listening, whenever you hear somebody say how easily that was done or how hard it was done, because obviously easily is hard, and I always do things the hard way, it seems, my whole life. So every time you hear or discuss something like that, you're going to immediately think of me, Vincent Easley. Okay? Because that's easy, right? That was easy. So I'd like to do a little experimentation of my own, because in this study, if I'm looking at social engineering and how it's been applied, if I don't try to, in a sense, do a little experimentation of my own to see, if what I'm hearing other people say, if it works. So this is a part of being a scientist. Now I was laughed at because I said I was a scientist one time, but scientists didn't necessarily mean you got beakers in butane or whatever, right? So yeah, Hans Cooper there, he's Hans Dietrich Sutter, Danby Cooper. See, he hides in anonymity and makes like he's the smartest guy, and he's very dogmatic. And I guess he doesn't know it, but yeah, I wonder about most people here that I've interacted with, I've spoken to or seen face to face, and even know personally. But at least many of us here do interact, and not behind a mask of anonymity. So I think Cooper is a good experiment for me. Now yesterday, I was applying some external stimuli to him, and I told him that because somebody was asking where Road Dogg was at, nobody had seen him, and I said, oh, I figured he was laid up, sleeping it off or something maybe, but I told him that he had died, and I said that he got hit by a truck, and I had a few people, and thanks, Joe, if you're listening, you ruined it. He said, no, he said metaphysically, but I hadn't known him. He'd been put in time out, as it were. He's talking to me now, dog is. In chat. So anyways, I like to have fun. I like to have fun with people, and you guys, we're all lab rats. We're all sheeple. We're all in this together. So I'm testing theories here, and some of you guys are some of my lab rats. And
Oh my God.
and there's others that have great wisdom that I draw from regularly. And there's Captain Gringo. He is one of them. And I'm not saying the rest of y'all are stupid. Like there's Frog. He's got lots of good stuff and such clever, witty people that, and everybody's always a little different. So, Miss Jane says, I thought it was Vincent Teasley. You just teasing me against you, girl. That's rich. That's great. But listen, the importance of life is to have fun. Dogma, that's right, Gremlin. Dogma, am God. I like to spell God, G0D. The letters small, and of course the zero in the center. So, yeah, defining God, no matter how you do it, you're claiming yourself to be God when you do it. So that's the inside. Now, if you can figure it out, because Cooper's pretty dense, really is. Watch, I'm applying external stimuli here, if you'll notice. Was that prayer time?
Yeah, call me back when I've done live radio, please. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like a call to prayer or something.
No, that was my brother trying to reach me on the phone.
Yeah, people that know you really always call when you're doing radio. It seems like.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, you dumbass. What do you think? What do you suppose I'm doing? You don't know me. So now look, Dan's gone all. He's going all into another language to show his intelligence. Look.
So are you trying to say that anything wrong has to do with theft? Any wrongdoing is a form of theft?
Yeah. Do you think that I'm being wrong right now by intellectually insulting or assaulting Dan B. Cooper?
I'm sorry, I don't get into personal stuff.
No, on me. No, I'm saying.
No, I'm not going to comment.
I'm revealing. Okay, I'm just revealing some of my who I am, and I think there's some people over here that really get me. Captain, he's actually, and I saw Jose just pop up on that he's on Skype. Remember, many of you all will remember Jose, and I gotta say his name right here. Yeah, it's like Jose, like you're saying horse, not Jose. Just proper pronunciation. So Gonzalez. So, anyways, that's this book that I'm developing, and I'm actually working with a writer, and she's helping me. So I'm just formulating it in mine. It's a book that's written in my mind, at least so far, partly. But anyways, so yeah, Jose Gonzalez is his name, and he's based on many different people in Captain Gringo and Michael from Primer Time. These two guys they're the type of the actual. If I can say it right, the expression of who they are, I'm incorporating into my my character, the main character. His name, he goes by Chip, and the story is multi-generational.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back, but anyways, I won't go into that anyway. But it's very interesting, and what I'm saying is that I draw on sources, whether it be people or whatever, and draw off that best. And a lot of times I get upset when people go to knocking other people. And so, it sounds like I'm doing a little contradiction of myself right here. And perhaps I am, and that's probably the irony in it, being so enigmatic as I am. That's another inside joke. Anyways, but like I said, I think we ought to make the best of life. And that's usually done when we're doing something positive. And so this external stimuli that I like to use as a poke and a prod at times with certain people, it's just a part of me being a scientist. Okay, That's all I can say to that.
You were talking about Popeye earlier. Did you see that Donald Duck cartoon about income tax?
Yeah, that was an old one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very old one. Yeah, I'm especially pointing it out because it's old.
That's that was to because most people well, I'd say most people pay income tax now because that's what they're supposed to be doing. But in the beginning, when they made a law that was legalizing theft, most people were smart enough to realize that they were being robbed, and they're all like, "Hell no, I ain't gonna pay no damn taxes. That's theft." And then, but by social engineering, you slowly accomplish it. Boiling frogs. Poor frog in there. He's all alone now. All the frogs are boiled. They've croaked. The frogs have croaked. The crickets stop cricketing. What do you call them? Chirping, I guess. Yeah. Crickets chirp. Yeah, but chirp is cheap. Okay, so silent crickets and boiled frogs. We're done.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyways, what I like to say is try to do something good, positive, build something up. But in the meantime,
Is it there's a question I have for you, and maybe people in the chat can answer this. Lately, I've been coming across ideas, and I don't endorse Mike Adams, but he was one of them, that he was kicking against this notion that has come around, and I'm not sure it's been around here in the Netherlands, but it seems to be that it is in the United States, that you can't be offended anymore. Does that ring a bell, or?
yeah, and that very notion offends me in itself.
That very notion what?
Offends me in itself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Now, the Power Ranger. I think Mike Adams is, and I've seen his work back when I was doing that stage of investigation as far as what is in the world. And in the health field, he has a lot of good work. So for me, like I don't really try to get off too deep much with the negative aspect of people. So whatever, people run off on their rants, and I try to be from the obscure to the obscene, and all points. I'm still on this discovery of what is, and most importantly, that's myself. So, without knowing, you gotta be able to take a look at yourself too. And
most importantly, that's yourself?
Myself, who I am. I mean, how I interact with that which I come in contact in the world is the most important thing.
I would suggest trying it from another angle, which is outside. Not inside, but outside.
Maybe you explain that a little more to me.
Well, what you're stating sounds to me like primacy of consciousness. In other words, your consciousness comes first and then the rest of the world. But actually it's the other way around. The rest of the world was here long before you were conscious. And so what is out there, not in here.
Well, I'm probably not doing a real good job of explaining myself. But no, you're certainly right. Yeah, but how I think people have the ability to influence what the is out there. That which existed before us, right? After we're gone, there's going to be that. Same type of deal there. That's then. So for what we do now, we can't change what was past, but we can influence what's future. So to understanding what it is out there. See, that was in What Matters Worldwide. That was because I've gone through this stage of evolution as far as doing radio.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I liken it to this voyage of discovery.
You liken it what? To the voyage of discovery. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
Okay.
liken it to be as a voyage of discovery. So I went
Yeah.
about the world and actually, literally, and I hate that word literally, but did it via the ether. This internet, this thing right here is amazing. It's an incredible time in history.
Yeah.
We can, I mean, literally speak face to face around the world simultaneously with people.
Yeah.
And so when we look about and we find each other, and then we see that we the same information of what has created this world that is, from all these conspiracies and all that stuff, and the use of the propaganda, the social engineering and so forth, that has created the world that we're in. So it's very good to understand that outside of it. But because of this social engineering that makes us who we are in that world, we need to also look inside, because I think it exists within us to know what is, what is right, what is wrong. There's that line right there. It's whether you're left or right of it or above or below it. There is a point that so perhaps it's not a line but a dot, and that dot is what is right, and everything. Like you were saying earlier when you started out the show, there seems to be more arguments that are incorrect than there are what is right. So that dot is what is right, and everything else outside of it, trying to explain why they're right, is these fences and these confines, these borders that we build for ourselves, whether collectively or individually. So I think within is the most important place to find it. And then apply it externally and affect what goes forward. So the idea that it's all part of God's plan, it's just going to happen, no, that's more that applied stimuli that is made you, me, and everybody else who we are. Wherever that stimuli, wherever it is affected and applied, and that's what it is. So we need to apply our own stimuli to make an effect for what is to come, and to change that. And that's the whole point of doing what I'm doing. And mainly it's for myself, because I have no ability to change anybody, and I've figured that out long ago. So,
Yeah, people can only change themselves, right?
Right. Yeah. So me thinking that I was going out to change things, it was me that was changed after all.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. You can't wake people up, It's a journey one has to do oneself.
How can you wake somebody else
You
up
can't.
out of your? How can you wake somebody else up out of your own dream? Think of it that way.
Well, it's not your dream he's in.
Perhaps it is, because it's your idea
That's a
that
solipsist
he's
point
asleep.
of view. Yeah, well, it's a solipsist point of view, you know that?
I don't know.
You
I
don't?
don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's
That's
I think it is also tied to this primacy of consciousness thing.
See, you speak a lot that's beyond my scope of understanding, and
Well,
that's why I still find you so valuable. Well, I mean, still find you so valuable. That's why I find such value in you.
this primacy of consciousness basically has to do with people like Kant and others before him, who seem to say that they want to be sure about things, right? It's Kant's philosophy of doubt, and that seems contradictory in itself, right? When you want to be sure about thing and then start talking about doubt, right? So, but they wanted to know when they can be doubtless, and the only thing that they could be doubtless about was the inside. Was their own consciousness, was their own thinking, right? I think therefore I am was the notion from Descartes, right? The one before Kant. He was initially, I think he was the first one, I'm not quite sure though, but for that period of philosophy, I think he was the first to introduce this idea that you cannot be certain about things outside of you. And so the only certainty that they had was their own thoughts. and then they started building the reality from inside out. But I think that's a wrong way of trying to figure out what's going on. I think it's much more advantageous to look at what's going on outside to figure out what reality is. I mean, of course, inside is a part of that, but I don't think you should use the inside as a basis from where to build your worldview.
Well, yeah, of course I'm being very metaphysical in that somehow. The outside, it's and I use this analogy. It's a high-rise skyscraper, right? And so we're all tasked to go investigate and discover what this thing is, and it's all affected by our perspective, and without a complete examination, at least as best to our ability, and then look at the blueprint, we're not going to have a full understanding of what it is. Because one person standing at the base of that building, all they see is a big old wall, an impenetrable wall, and that's what they come back with for their explanation of it.
About the skyscraper?
The skyscraper is not a skyscraper. It's what is. In our description of it, our examination of what is.
Yeah, but I don't follow the analogy here. He's walking in the skyscraper and he just sees a wall. I'm sorry, what?
No, he's standing at one point to observe it, and he's standing right there at the base of it, down the side of the building. So that's his perspective. That's what perspective is what people view of all of it. Now, I take the analogy beyond the skyscraper as that to being vessels upon the sea in this voyage of discovery about this flat, hollow, global Earth that we live on.
Yeah.
Encapsulated. So whatever it is, we really don't know. We don't know if it's flat or round after all, do we? We have a perspective that, and whether we're taking a look at somebody coming back with their report of photographs of whether it be a spatial view of a curved or flat Earth, or the picture of that building right there, and all you see is a wall. He's standing right there in front of it, and boom. So,
but
images.
The ancient Greek proved that the Earth is round.
Did he?
Yeah, and you know what? You want to know how they did that?
Math.
Part of it is math. Yes, they did that by putting up sticks in the ground and measuring the length of the shadow it casts on different locations, and they figured out that the Earth has to be round.
And if you mark the shadow at the tip of that shadow, the sun goes, and put some rocks on it, and it'll draw a straight line, and that will give you your north and south direction. By the way, survival tip.
Yeah.
But there's also been some flat earthers that showed how that very same thing there proved the Earth was flat. So, and the globe was spinning around it, not us about to.
Okay, well,
but there's a lot of fallacies in the flat Earth. Don't get me wrong. I don't.
Okay.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. I don't care whether it's flat or round in the very end, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was flat. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, well, another argument I would bring up is who cares?
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
Like, what the hell, you know? Does it matter if it's flat or round?
Yeah, because it doesn't really have anything to do with really in the very end of how everything is used against us. I mean, what you said earlier, it's so very true, right? The war is against us.
Yeah, the war is against us. That's one thing that is hard to grasp.
It very, very much, very much so.
All right, so another thing I could say about that primacy of consciousness is that there is this other way, I guess you could call it the opposite, is the primacy of existence, which state that you can know what there is by using your senses and your reason, by picking up information, picking up the grammar from outside, right? Using your reason, your logic, to remove contradictions, inconsistencies, and come up with a worldview, right? So, but that assumes that there is something out there first. And it was there before you were here, right? And it will be there when you're gone, right? So I think that's much more usable, because it's so much more than only the inside. Right?
Well,
If you're going by the inside only, then existence dies when you die. Right?
Yeah. And by the way, first of all, that flat Earth right there, that was some of my stimuli applied, and I get the response that I wanted, and it tickles me, causes me to chuckle. I'm over here chuckling at this point watching chat.
Yeah.
People are really easily offended. See, I said easily.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. Do you see that? I don't know where you live, in a town or in a village, or do you see that people are easily offended?
Yeah, I do. I live way out in the country. It's not even a town or a village or a whatever.
Huh.
It's just way out in the country. On what we call a mountain out here, which is 1/10 scale of actual mountains, I guess. So it's a hill, but nonetheless, Half Moon Mountain. And, I believe it was a full moon yesterday on Christmas, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't follow that kind of stuff.
Well, if you ever hope to be a god of your own, you're going to have to. That's my buddy John too calling. I should take his call on air, but we don't have enough time. We're running out.
No,
That'd be a good call.
Yeah,
I'll have
take
to
care,
call him later.
Vince.
Okay, hey, take care, Walter. Thanks, everybody. Talk
See
to
you later.
Bye bye.
All right, I'm going to see where I can kick him. Remove. There we go. So this is from chat, so someone always says that there is a flat Earth, and when you can show the proof that Earth is spherical, they always say, what does it matter? Just like Hillary. But if it didn't somehow matter to their point of view, then why would they even mention it? You know, that would be the flat earthers then. Right? They think it matters. I don't really... first of all, you know, it's... it's a red herring, I think. I don't see the point of discussing this kind of thing. Right? Planes fly where they need to fly regardless of whether it's flat or not. So I think it's a non-topic. I guess that's where I should stop talking about it. We've arrived at 58, which means my outro will be kicking in soon. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. This has been the Solvinur Event. I'll be back next week. Stay tuned for Ron. It's always nice to listen to Ron. And I would like to thank Anon37, Captain Gringo, Cracker, Dan, Grump, Hopper, Frog, Jane, and Joe, and Jules, Logan, and Dog, and Ufde, and Vincent. So that's it for this week. Thanks a lot. See you later.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific